Good morning.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening from wherever you're joining us. My name is Sonia Majeeb. I also go by Miriam. We are starting a brand new series, Conscious Feminine Conversations, with Dr. Luna and I, Dr. Merciano Luna. And today we were talking about this and we started to think of how we can give back to the collective, what medicine we have within, we can share our knowledge, wisdom, walking our journeys to help other women step into their power, speak their truth, and also not be victims of their past. So this is something I'm very familiar with, have started to round into this, and it's just time for us to speak about it. So there's 6 embodiments that we're going to start talking about. We're launching a brand new podcast, like I said. So grateful and honored to be working with Dr. Merciano, and I hope that you will join us and learn from our wisdom and teachings, and then go out, embody this, and share with others. And yeah, so this is really exciting. So the 6 embodiments that we're going to be working on, we're just going to quickly share. One is the Dark Mother. So we're talking about the divine feminine aspects here. We're talking about all of these thousands of years that we have been trapped in patriarchal chains, if you want to call it, and having to suppress our voice. We're having to live by certain rules. And I feel that most of the conscious collective right now, especially women, they're ready to break out of it. So therefore, we're going to start by talking about 6 embodiments. One of them is the Dark Mother, Ecstatic Feminine Essence, Creatrix Feminine, Cosmic Womb Mother. We're going to talk about Feminine Wisdom Keepers, and then the Medicine Woman. So this is going to be really important. This is Dr. Merciano's work. She has invested so many years, so many thousands of hours in pulling her soul and wisdom into this, and I'm just really excited to be a part of this. I think that everyone will learn a lot from it, and again, just there will be activations, there will be transmissions. We will be doing different kinds of embodiments during the full moon and the new moon cycle. We're going to be talking about a lot of really great feminine conversations that are not discussed as much. This is something I love, is talking about topics that are more hidden and bringing it out into the limelight, talking about cycles, talking about rituals, talking about how to really embody that feminine essence, which is so important right now. Um, and I will hand it over to you now, Dr. Luna.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, it's wonderful. I'm very, very excited to do this podcast with you. And we're at a time, as we all know, that there's a shift. We're at this great change. It's has been talked about, and we're all feeling it. And like you said, in the feminine is here. It's coming through all of us. And I think it's really important to start having these conversations about, not just this ethereal idea or concept of what the feminine is, what the masculine is, but really like practical, like how does this, idea of the feminine really show up in our lives? Practically, how do we connect to that? How do we, how does that show up in, every single thing that we do? And how to really move through these transformational times, because a lot of people, a lot of times when we're in it, which most of us are in it, and we don't understand some of the energetic aspects that are happening, we get into fear, we get into constriction, and it's hard for us to sometimes have the bigger vision of what's happening and what am I really going through, and why am I in this crisis, or how do I break free and liberate myself from these constraints, because there's a lot of talk about the survival paradigm and the masculine and patriarchal paradigm, but it's like, okay, what do we do about that? It's like we don't want to just have the talk. We want to have really the understanding and embodiment of that, you know, the experiential. How do we move into these? So like you said, the first series that we're focusing on is this whole idea of, which is part of my work, the 6 faces of the feminine, the 6, you know, embodiments of the feminine, because we have lost, you know, our connection with the feminine. You know, in our culture, we still see, we're kind of shifting now. There's a lot of talk about the divine feminine, but we still see God, source, oneness as masculine. You know, it's still depicted this way. And even if we personally don't, you know, relate to it that way, we're, you know, unconsciously, it's part of the collective consciousness that we're breaking out of. And so for women, specifically for women, even though the feminine is in both men and women, but for women, there's not a lot of archetypes that we can associate with. You know, if you've had a God father for a very long time, then source looks like you, you know, but if you're a woman, it doesn't really look like you. And we, you know, we have to, you know, we could use the goddesses, but the goddesses, you know, there's a lot of different information around the goddesses, and some people really don't connect to the goddesses because it might be, you know, connected to maybe religion, and, you know, so I received this download, which was like really fascinating to me, and it's kind of been coming through in the last few years of these different embodiments of the feminine. And today I know we wanted to start with the medicine woman, so I'm very excited about that. But these embodiments, just one more note, it's kind of like how we can, as women, and as men too, but mainly as women, connect with this aspect of ourselves, this archetype. It's really a field. They're not really separate, even though we're talking about them as if they're separate. But it's like, how can we relate and resurrect these fields, this dimension within us? You know, the feminine wisdom keeper, the ecstatic essence, you know, that feminine that feels ecstatic and that connects to the body for the wisdom and the gnosis, and so on and so forth. So yeah, thank you. And I'm really, really excited to dive in here and go into all of these with you.
Perfect. And one thing before we forget, everyone, can you please introduce yourself and your background a little bit?
Oh,
I will.
Right. So I'm Dr. Lenoir Merciano Luna, and I'm a spiritual teacher, healer, guide. I'm also an author, and I just launched my my last book during this time, this pandemic. So we kind of had a launch, but not a whole launch. Birth of the Conscious Feminine. And I'm also a holistic doctor, and I've been in private practice for about 23 years. And really in the last, I would say 8 years or so, probably since 2011, I've been really focusing a lot more on the feminine and how she's been coming through, and really, you know, breaking away within my own consciousness, and working and receiving, you know, the downloads and all of this wonderful information. So I put together Conscious Feminine Medicine. It's a non-for-profit organization for us to really be able to heal our own wounds, you know, for women to start to really heal on all levels, you know, on the spiritual, physical, emotional, and resurrect the feminine within us, you know, really empower ourselves and shift into, you know, the sacred feminine essence that's here. It's here to stay, and hopefully we'll see it all over. But you know, it's a process. It's definitely a process. And I also have the School of Conscious Feminine Medicine, which we put together workshops, and we're going to be starting our new Conscious Feminine Medicine Women certification program now in October. So I'm very excited about that, and we can talk more about that later. But yeah,
Sure.
it's just basically offering, and a lot of the programs are pay by the heart, so that people, so that money's not an issue, because in this capitalist setup, we kind of don't always get what we need because money's in the way. And so, a lot of what we offer is pay by the heart. So consciousfemininemedicine.com, and you can find all sorts of information there. But thank you.
Thank you. That's really beautiful. I love that. And I will introduce myself real quickly. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Sonia Majeeb. Mariam is something that kind of initiated me into the divine feminine, and also the birth of my son. I was in a 14-hour labor, and I called out to each and one of the divine feminine ascended masters that I knew of growing up, and miraculously he came out, and that was my first initiation into receiving the wisdom and magic from the guides beyond the veil that have been assisting me and guiding me and having me embody unity and love all over again. What happens during our trajectory of life is we start to build walls, and through our life and veils and hurts and aches and pains, we start to move further and further away from our true nature. And so welcoming the feminine essence back is really just coming back home self. So I'm really excited to be doing this. I am a spiritual teacher. I'm an integrative health coach. I specialize in ancestral healing, and I also work with energy medicine. And yeah, my specialty is really allowing people to speak their truth, allowing women to step into their power. Something that was gifted to me was the diagnosis of thyroid issues, and I really feel like this was my precursor and the way forward to not only heal myself, those in my lineage, and other women that come to me. I'm also the creator of a podcast called Speak Your Truth with Sonia Majeeb, where I have a lot of beautiful light workers and uh, gatekeepers and just people in the collective that are gems and that are just really helping the planet be a better place while they're here from their heart. So that is really, really important, is anchoring back into the heart. So that is it for me. Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So would you like to start? Well, here's something that we can start with today, which is a medicine woman. And I can give you a synopsis of Dr. Merciano can go into it a little bit deeper. So
Sure.
the medicine woman is the one that carries the true medicine for the aching hearts of this world. She is the physician of the soul that is able to move in between the worlds and help others awaken, heal, and reclaim their true soul essence embodiment. The medicine woman of today uses her spiritual gifts to help other women discover and embody their spiritual gifts, come into alignment with their true power. Her medicine is one of consciousness. How do we give to others that which heals them and at the same time empowers them? How do we guide others to move into sovereignty within their own being? These are the inquiries that guide the medicine woman in relationship to her service with others. The medicine woman also has access to ancient of the spirit and guides other and men to fully embody their own personal medicine. She recognizes that we all come in with varying spiritual gifts, ready to be made manifest here in the world, and helping others manifest their fullest potential is a part of her medicine. The medicine woman knows healers. We carry the medicine in our being, and it is for us to discover our true nature of light in order to heal ourselves, the planet, and manifest that reality physically. So beautiful. I think we need to take a nice deep breath to just take that in.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I can say that that is truly what so many beautiful women and men right now in the collective are embodying and channeling.
Mm.
So Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd like
this
to
is,
talk a little bit more.
yeah, absolutely. This is really the, you know, the shift of the feminine, and this is an aspect of how the feminine is coming through. And for women to start to acknowledge that they carry the medicine within them, you know, to start to turn inward for everything that they need. Um, Part of what's happened in the collective is that we've, you know, as we've lost that connection with our spiritual dimension, we've lost, you know, we have in turn, you know, turned outward, you know, consciously and unconsciously for everything that we need, or, you know, thinking that we're gonna, you know, if this happens, then I'm, you know, safe or peaceful, and if this happens, then I'll be happy. And the truth is that the outer world, um, you know, is in continual flux. And, you know, anything that we derive from the outer world is going to be temporary. It's not going to deeply satisfy the yearning of our hearts, you know, to really be fulfilled. And so really learning and experiencing that source within us. It's like resourcing from within. It's like learning that, you know, in our being, in our soul, in the spiritual dimension that we have, that we are, you know, it's hard to put it into words because the words are dualistic, but that we are, everything, source is there. It's like that essence, our essence is the individuated source, which connects us to the source of all, which connects us to the great mother, to the oneness. And so really starting to own those places within us that, you know, when we're needing the peace, when we're, you know, experiencing fear, you know, it's like turning within and starting to access. It's like, how do we even access, you know, that source, those qualities within us, you know, those jewels, you know. So this is part of the medicine woman, is knowing that who we really are, you know, that we are the healers, we meaning ourselves, or we carry that medicine, we carry that source within us, we are that sacred essence, um, and we access it within. So it's like everything that we need is there, and not just for ourselves, but then, you know, like you said, spreading that and bringing that, transmitting that onto the planet, you know, so that we can start to shift from fear to love, you know, and be in that safety and feel safe in our bodies, you know, as women, and start to access that on a daily basis. um and that really is the gift of the medicine woman. It's like reframing with medicine women. You know, we've lost touch, you know, only the ancient, you know, tribes and the medicine women that would keep the balance and the equanimity of the tribe, the family, but also the whole community. And no matter what was happening, whether, you know, someone was physically ill or going through emotional challenges, or, you know, it was all dealt with on the inner plane first, on the spiritual level. And then of course there were herbs and this and that and different ways, you know, to work with that situation and to bring the healing. But there was this understanding that they needed to connect on the inner and source from within and bring that, you know, bring that healing through. um and that is, you know, what one of the major things that we're reclaiming now as women. That opportunity is here. It's not just for our own healing and for us to be happy, but actually what the world is needing and asking for. And that's the whole premise really of this whole medicine woman certification program. It's really kind of like how to move in and first heal our wounds, because we're all, you know, we all have this wounding of separation that we've experienced for thousands of years, you know, whether it's coming in, like you were talking about, the ancestral healing has to be done, you know, the lineage healing, because we're all holding it right now in our bodies, you know, on a cellular level, on a psychic level, and that has to be healed. But then also moving into, you know, okay, you know, how to access all these different qualities within us, all these different aspects of our being, and bringing that out into the world. And that might, you know, for one person, that might mean, you know, whatever their trait is. They might be a singer, or they might be a teacher, or they might, it doesn't matter, but it's almost like they're bringing the wholeness of themselves, and their spirit is transmitting this new paradigm of hope, of healing, of love, of peace, you know, because they're anchored in that. And that's, you know, that's the new shift. That's the new paradigm that's here. And so we just have to do our work, you know, at a personal level, to anchor ourselves in that and to transmit that.
Absolutely. With this paradigm shift, I feel that there's so many brave souls on this planet who decided to take responsibility for the larger collective, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to do so much work, heal within themselves. One of the things that I'd like to also bring up is that when you have these woundings and you have these psychic memories or the miasma in your field, because we remember, a lot of us,
Mm-hmm.
previous lifetimes where you have been the medicine woman, where you have had injuries or have even been killed for giving. So that is very much prevalent in people's fields until it's not. So I'd like you to speak on that. It's so important because we are carrying that medicine, but a lot of the times this unworthiness factor comes in, or this fear comes in, because something in our psyche, something in our body, something in our nervous system is still remembering these timelines of trauma.
Right. Exactly. And that is what it is. It's trauma. And, you know, it doesn't have to have happened in this lifetime, even though I think we're all in trauma, you know, on many levels in this lifetime, even if we don't have the classical, you know, trauma, those things that are classified as trauma. However, you know, it's in the cellular memory, and, you know, it's like we're experiencing in this moment, because we're like a hologram. And so we're experiencing all lifetimes, you know, all of our lineage in this moment. So we might have this fear and anxiety that, for example, comes up, or even like you said, thyroid. You mentioned thyroid. I've gone through bouts of thyroid and in my body as well, and diagnosis of thyroid. And there's so many women with thyroid. And for many of the women that I've personally worked on, and I know this to be true on many levels, you know, it is related to not being able to speak your truth and being, you know, being harmed for that. And like you said, and even killed and persecuted. And that all of that trauma and all of that fear is still here. And sometimes it's like we don't even understand, well, why is there this fear response? Why is my nervous system, you know, so on edge? You know, I don't have anything to fear, you know, seemingly. However, the body is trying to heal, and it's going to bring up, you know, all of these imbalances that we can identify. And then we could say, oh, okay, let's just take this. It's almost like that's how our body communicates. That's how our being communicates with us. And then we can take that diagnosis or just anxiety and fear and travel into it. It's like letting it lead us, you know, bringing it, meeting it with love, meeting it with light. And it's like, that's, you know, part of what people call working with the shadow or working with the underworld, you know, but it's really embracing these places of separation and trauma. You know, it's like ancestral trauma, you know, it's what I call it. I'm sure that's what you call it too. That's here because as we get flooded with light from, you know, and as the frequencies are intensifying for this change, all of that all of that comes up and intensifies. And that's why people are getting more sick, and people are, getting into fear and more polarized. It's like all of that is up. It's like all of these trauma reactions are up. And again, it's not, if we understand the bigger picture, that it's like, oh, okay, whatever's coming up is for us to actually embrace and to work with. It's like embrace it and love, because these are all of the places within our psyche, within our even our soul, that are unresolved.
Right.
And what they're looking for is the love. It's like to merge with the love, because that's what heals. And once it merges with that love and that light, then you're not in separation anymore. You kind of come into wholeness. It's like bringing them home. It's like soul retrieval work. There's so many different ways that we could explain it.
Absolutely.
But it is very important. And, in my years of practice, I could absolutely see, these spiritual roots to all of these manifestations on the physical body, for women. Anything from fertility to, PMS to, all of the ways. And thyroid. I mean, thyroid is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing I also would like to mention is that when you're looking at these illnesses or dis-ease, you're looking at the subtle body. It's so important to look at the subtleties, because you first were to look at the physical, right? Mm-hmm. The physical is a manifestation of the subtle energies that are psychic, that are free radicals, are happening through energy, all of these things. So that's super important. I also would like to talk about the medicine woman is someone who feels it all, feel it to heal it. Exactly. And right now I feel like with this pandemic, with this shift, we all got to, on a collective level, feel so much, because we weren't exposed to the rat race anymore. We got to really be in silence, such a gift. But for many, the silence is so uncomfortable, where everything is coming up. And again, what I have seen is relationships ending, or like you said, dis-ease. People are like, this is a collective shift, a collective cleanse that is on the greater level happening for our best and highest good. It's happening so we can evolve in consciousness and help Gaia evolve to her next level. And as Gaia evolves, we do. As we do, Gaia evolves. This is all a collective process. So I'd like to kind of talk about the medicine woman as being that strength, anchoring that strength within her, and feeling everything, feeling the anger, feeling the grief, feeling the sadness, not turning away from any of these things. I feel that in our culture, what we've been, the dis-ease really begins when we start shoving everything under the carpet and we don't actually face what's happening, because oftentimes if we are present with it, it will dissolve. But yet we keep turning away from it to a point where it knocks louder and louder.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with you. And, one of the things that has been shamed of the feminine is in feminine bodies, our ability to feel, our ability to cry. It's like the body automatically, releases tears. It's like using that water element to cleanse. And yet we shut that down because it's not acceptable. It's shamed. And, and we don't want to, we don't feel good doing it. So women, especially because women are so connected to that emotional realm of the water within our own bodies. Again, that's another thing we're reclaiming. It's the feeling. It's like the feelings, and not just to feel, but how to move, how to allow that feeling to move through. I think, because people are so ashamed of feeling, and then there's a secondary level of feeling like if you actually do feel, you're going to get stuck there. Or even worse, you're going to create something negative from feeling. And so there's that, there's also that myth going on where, because I do have, patients all the time that say, I'm afraid of feeling these negative thoughts. So they do this whole thing around just being positive, which is another way of not feeling, right? And just kind of getting stuck in the mental realm, you know, of this particular affirmation. And affirmations can be helpful, but what is more important is this allowing ourselves to be present, to bring our presence. You know, it's like when we focus on something, when we like stop, like you said, now we're all, you know, we all kind of stopped on the global level, at least to some degree, and allow ourselves to be present with what is there, letting go of any judgment around it, letting go of any agenda. Oh, I shouldn't be feeling this. I should, you know, it should be this way. You know, I should, you know, people have it worse than I do. You know, all sorts of ways in which we stop what we're actually feeling and we kind of layer it with thoughts, you know, this mental constructs that just don't allow us to keep us stuck. That's what keeps us stuck. Because if we actually allow ourselves to go into the grief or even feel the fear, this thing, these emotions or these sensations we call fear, they're just sensations. It's just energy. It's like clouds, you know, sometimes there's really dark clouds, you know, we're here in Florida and, you know, sometimes it's really dark clouds and stormy and scary. And they pass, you know, they pass. And so that's a really important thing because, you know, there's so much collective trauma that's happened on Earth. I mean, it's like the Earth herself, there's so much sadness, you know, in our humanity, there's been so much violence, all of that, you know, the more we open up our capability of feeling, we're going to feel that, you know, and as healers, we feel that. And sometimes it's very intense because we wake up and it's like, oh, you know, we could feel the heaviness. But at the same time, like you said, you got to feel it to heal it. And it's like bringing it into your womb, bringing it into your cauldron, bringing it into to that place where you can access, you know, source, the divine. And then it transmutes. It's that, you know, transformational alchemy that happens. And then you're in, you know, then you're able to be in the essence, which feels good, you know, which feels good, which feels safe, which feels peaceful, which is your happiness. Your real happiness is within. But yeah, that whole, you know, that's a very important, I'm glad you brought it up because that is, you know, and that's part of the gift of the medicine woman, that she can do this and she can do this in meditation for herself and for her family and, you know, for her kids, you know, for her community. And it's almost like, you know, clearing the collective and anchoring the light, basically. Yeah, it's part of the hidden gifts.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for joining. Would you like to mention the Conscious Feminine certification program? So everyone, this was the first one that we wanted to chat about, which is the medicine woman. Thank you to all the medicine women who are listening, who have stepped into their power, who are just thinking about stepping into their power. I really hope that you have learned something insightful. And I will pass it to Dr. Merciano so she can mention her program.
Oh, thank you. Well, no, I really want to, you know, I really wanted to do these because I think this conversation has to be had. And, you know, the first step in our evolution, anybody's evolution, is to, you know, hear a whole new perspective and say, okay, somebody's here. Got it. Hear a whole new perspective and then, you know, consider that perspective. It's like, oh, that there is something new. It could be something new.
We'll have to
Okay.
edit that part out. I don't know how to take.
Getting a call.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know how to do that.
That's okay.
I'm on my Mac.
Me too.
How do I get back to you now?
You're here. I can
Okay.
hear you.
I'm trying to get not the thumbnail view, but all of it. Okay, well, let me.
I'm hearing you fine. Yeah, and we're seeing you fine.
Okay.
So I just wanted to, to me, it's really important, like I said, to start talking about these and for, us to start exploring, these concepts of how the shift is happening. How are we able to, really feel the feminine and what that even means for us. So, I want to thank you for, doing this with me. And for anybody else that's really interested in, if it really resonates with them to step into and develop their spiritual powers, really, that's so needed now. This is the time. Then you can look up the Conscious Feminine Medicine Women program. It's a 9-month program, and we're starting with a 1-day online retreat. It's all online for now. Used to be a little bit of half of each, but for now it's all online. And you can get more information on the website, consciousfemininemedicine.com. And you can also email me if you have any questions. You can join the waiting list right now. We don't have the registration open, but there's a waiting list for them. And I want to thank you very much, Sonia. Thank you for everything that you bring. It's wonderful, and sharing these concepts with you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and hope that you will join us for the next episode. If you are interested, definitely reach out, and also please like, share, and subscribe with all of your other fellow medicine women in your life. So thank you.
Thank you. Blessings. Peace.